Welcome to Cognito Key. You know that feeling when you're doing something and you suddenly realize someone's watching? You kind of sit up a little straighter, right? Focus a bit more? Well, it turns out that's not just in your head. It's a real psychological phenomenon called the Hawthorne Effect.
Our story starts with this really bizarre question. It's a question that came out of a fascinating moment in history, and honestly, it revealed a huge truth about how we're all wired.
I know, it sounds totally backwards, doesn't it? But this is the exact puzzle that researchers stumbled on almost 100 years ago, and what they found completely changed the game for understanding motivation.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're going back to 1924 at this huge factory in Chicago called the Hawthorne Works. Researchers, later led by a guy named Elton Mayo, started these experiments that went on for years, and they kept getting these really confusing results. It actually wasn't until 1958 that the whole thing finally got a name, the Hawthorne Effect.
So we're all kicked off with a pretty simple idea. Figure out how the workplace environment affects how much people get done. And one of the first, most famous tests was all about the lights, how bright they were, and if that changed workers' output.
The first part seemed really straightforward. Just as you'd expect, when the researchers cranked up the lights for a group of workers, their productivity improved. Okay, makes sense. So far, so good.
But this is where the story gets really weird. For the next part, they started dimming the lights, thinking, productivity would obviously drop. Instead, it went up again. Seriously, they kept making it darker, down to about the brightness of moonlight, and productivity still stayed high.
The researchers were just completely baffled. It didn't seem to matter if they made conditions better or worse. As long as an experiment was happening, productivity soared. But the real clue, the smoking gun, was what happened right after. The moment the experiment stopped and the researchers left, productivity dropped right back to where it started.
This completely baffling result forced the researchers to come up with a totally groundbreaking conclusion about what really makes us tick.
So the question was pretty obvious. If it wasn't the lights and it wasn't the hours they worked or the breaks they took, then what on earth was causing this big jump in performance?
And it turns out the answer was all in their heads. It was purely psychological. The workers knew they were being watched, that they were part of a special study. And all that extra attention from the supervisors made them feel important. And that feeling, that is what made them work harder.
And that phenomenon got its name from the factory where it was discovered, the Hawthorne Effect. It's this simple idea that we change our behavior, we modify what we're doing, the second we know someone's watching. It's just a natural human reaction.
Okay, so, a cool story from a long time ago, but what does a century-old experiment have to do with us today? Well, it turns out its legacy is still incredibly relevant. The biggest takeaway is that our need to feel seen and valued is a huge driver of our performance. The Hawthorne studies basically proved that human factors, like getting attention from others or how we get along with our colleagues, can motivate us way more than the physical setup of our job. This was a massive revelation.
So this brings us to a big question for you to think about. Because this effect is happening all around us, all the time. From performance reviews at work to the perfect lives we try to show off on social media. That feeling of being watched is everywhere. How does it change what you do?
Ultimately, the Hawthorne Effect is a powerful reminder that we're not just cogs in a machine. It shows that the simple act of paying attention, of making people feel seen, can unlock our potential in ways that just changing the lights never, ever could. It's really the foundation of modern employee engagement. A valued person is a productive person.
If you found this explainer insightful, do us a favor and hit that like button. Share this video, and please subscribe to Cognito Key for more insights into the human mind. Thanks for watching.